Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're going deep into the impact of digital technology on something we probably all take for granted, our attention.
It's something you don't really think about until it's gone right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got some really thought-provoking excerpts you sent over from Stand Out of Our Light, Freedom and Resistance in the Attention Economy by James Williams.
Yeah, this book has been making the rounds.
For good reason. Williams, get this, was a Google strategist, then turned philosopher.
You think he saw something while he was working there that made him completely change careers?
Right. Makes you think. But we're going to unpack his argument about how the digital world seems almost designed to compete for our attention and what's at stake when we give in.
The thing I like about Williams is he's not preachy.
Yeah.
He doesn't just tell you to put down your phone and good luck with that.
Right.
He goes deeper, way deeper, like philosophical, about what it means for us, for our minds, to have our attention pulled in a million directions all the time.
And it's exhausting. And he actually uses this metaphor in the book, a faulty GPS, the one constantly taking you in the wrong direction when you're just trying to get somewhere.
Oh, yeah, you follow the directions and end up in like a field or something.
Exactly. But instead of a physical destination, it's our attention that's being hijacked. And the irony is, Williams talks about how even while working at Google on making information universally accessible, those are his words, he was getting sucked into distractions himself. He actually mentions in the book this one time where he ended up down a Wikipedia rabbit hole like hours on the history of salt. Salt.
That's hilarious. Talk about meta.
Total meta.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes his perspective so interesting. He was in the thick of it.
He lived it.
Yeah. And he talks about this idea of information abundance leading to attention scarcity.
It used to be, back in the day, remember libraries? You'd have to physically go and search for information, and it would take forever.
Oh, I'm dating myself, but yeah.
Now it's like we're drowning in information, but we can't focus on any of it.
So our attention becomes the valuable resource,
Yeah.
the thing everyone wants.
Everyone wants a piece of it. And it's not just the little everyday distractions either. Like, we've all been there, trying to have a conversation and then...
Oh, notification.
Yes, exactly. But Williams takes it a step further and says that this constant digital pull, it can actually harm our ability to focus on the things that actually matter, big picture stuff.
Our goals, our values, our relationships.
He even questions our ability to think critically in this kind of environment. Remember that part where he talks about the impulsivity training device, or the eye trainer?
Yeah, that was a little creepy.
Super creepy. He's basically saying that by constantly giving in to every notification, every ping, we're actually weakening our willpower.
Like we're training ourselves to be more reactive, less thoughtful.
Exactly. It's like those times you catch yourself scrolling through social media for like an hour, and it's like, what did I even just look at? And you just feel kind of empty.
It's like that saying, we shape our tools, and then our tools shape us. But in this case, the tool is like our smartphone, and it's shaping our minds.
And it goes way beyond just us as individuals. This is impacting us as a society in a major way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So we've got all this information swirling around us, right? But what happens when an entire society is dealing with this attention scarcity?
Oh, man. Williams does not hold back there. It's like his gloves come off for this part, He basically says straight up that a society that can't focus, that's constantly distracted, it can't really engage in any kind of meaningful discussion about important things.
Like politics and stuff?
Right. It's like we lose the ability to even agree on what's real, on a shared reality.
Which is kind of scary when you think about it.
Super scary. And then he makes this connection between all of this and the whole outrage culture thing.
Oh, tell me you highlighted that part in the book, where everything is like a huge deal,
Yeah.
and there's no room for nuance. It's just like anger all the time.
That was one of the parts that really got me thinking, for sure. Especially there's that bit where he talks about, remember that whole thing with Cecil the lion?
Oh, back in 2015. Yeah, that dentist. I remember it.
Everyone was up in arms about it, like it was the biggest deal in the world.
And I get it. It's awful. But Williams's point is that it's like this perfect example of how outrage spreads online. Like it's nobody's business. And we just eat it up because we need that instant, emotional reaction.
And then the thing is, does any of it even lead to change, like real change? Or is it just a bunch of noise?
Like, did all that outrage over Cecil actually help lions? I don't know.
Right. And that's the thing about outrage. Sometimes it feels good, but it doesn't necessarily translate into action that really makes a difference, And this whole thing ties back into what we were saying before about those lower impulses.
The quick hits of dopamine, the stuff that makes us feel good in the moment, but doesn't really do anything for us long term.
Exactly. The outrage, the fear, even just wanting to be right all the time. It makes us so easy to manipulate.
Oh, totally. It's like we're all just puppets and someone's up there pulling the strings.
And we're too busy being outraged to even notice. So we've talked about how this impacts us personally, but what happens when you've got a whole society that's being manipulated like this?
That doesn't sound good.
Not at all. Williams actually links it to the rise of populism, where it's all about simple solutions to complex problems, and it's more about emotions than actual facts.
Because who needs critical thinking when you can just feel really strongly about something?
Right. It's like we're trading in our ability to think for ourselves for like a quick hit of feeling like we're part of something.
So it's not just cute puppy videos and annoying notifications. It's about our ability to, like, actually function as a society, like to govern ourselves, to make good decisions.
It's kind of a bleak picture, right? Like, are we doomed to be stuck in this attention-scarce world forever?
Give us some hope here. Is there anything we can actually do about it?
Well, luckily, Williams has some ideas, and they're not all doom and gloom.
So there's hope. We don't have to, like, become Luddites and move to a cabin in the woods.
Well, he does say that just like throwing away our smartphones and pretending the internet doesn't exist isn't really an option for most of us.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right. We're all plugged in, like it or not. But what he does suggest is like a freedom of attention movement. It's about being intentional, about designing and using tech in a way that puts us back in control.
So not the attention economy, but more like attention liberation.
Exactly. You really hit on something there. He actually proposes this idea of a designer's oath. It's kind of like the Hippocratic Oath, but for, tech people.
Instead of do no harm, it's don't steal my attention.
Well, something like that. Basically, instead of designing things to be as addictive as possible, they'd be thinking about our well-being, our ability to focus.
Okay, so instead of those sneaky little notifications that make you crave your phone like it's a bag of chips.
Right. They'd be designing things to help us achieve our goals, to actually live better lives.
That's a nice thought, but come on. How do we actually get, like, Facebook and Google to sign on to this designer's oath?
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Williams talks about a bunch of different angles. Individuals have to take responsibility. Like, we need to be more mindful of where our attention is going.
Instead of just, like, scrolling mindlessly.
Exactly. And policymakers have to step up, maybe with regulations and stuff. And of course, the tech companies themselves, they have to actually embrace ethical design principles.
So it's not just on us to fix it. It's bigger than that.
Definitely. It's a group effort for sure. But there are things we can do as individuals right now. Remember that part you highlighted about cultivating epoche?
Sounds very philosophical.
It is. It's a Greek word, but it's basically about creating space for, like, quiet reflection. Like stepping away from the constant barrage of information and just being present.
So like a digital detox, but maybe without having to go live in the woods.
Yeah. Even small breaks can make a huge difference. And then Williams also talks about finding your lights in the sky.
Okay, now that sounds kind of out there.
I know, right? But it's actually pretty cool when you think about it. He's talking about those big guiding principles that give your life meaning.
Like your family, your values?
Exactly. Those things become your compass, the things that keep you grounded when the world is trying to pull you in a million directions.
I like the lights in the sky. It's like instead of getting lost in all the noise, you navigate by those guiding stars.
It's about remembering what actually matters, what's worth paying attention to.
Wow, this has been a lot to process, but in a good way. It's like Williams makes you realize how much we just, like, accept about the way technology impacts our lives.
Without even questioning it.
And that last question he asks about building empires of the mind, that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
Like, if we're going to let technology shape our minds, what kind of minds do we want to have? What kind of future are we creating?
It's something we all have to decide for ourselves and for society as a whole.
It's definitely a conversation worth having. And on that note, that concludes our deep dive into the attention economy. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Go out there and reclaim your attention.